Hi everybody, Bill here from the Super Review Show, and welcome to another review. Since Memorial Day is upon us, I think it's only appropriate that we talk about one of the best war films ever made, and one of my favorite movies, Saving Private Ryan, made in 1998, directed by the great Steven Spielberg. It's June 6, 1944, D-Day. The Allies are about to touch base in Normandy, France. And and during all this, we get news that the Ryan brothers, Sean, Daniel, and Peter, have all been killed. But there's one brother left, James Ryan, who parachuted into Normandy the night before the invasion. And they do not know if he is still alive. So they send Captain John Miller and his men to go find Private James Ryan and send him home. Hence the name, Saving Private Ryan. Okay, I usually talk about the cast first, which I will, but I'm not going to spend too long on it just because I feel this is more of a story-driven movie than it is a character-driven movie. But, we'll talk about the cast. Tom Hanks is Captain John Miller. I think he does good as the stoic army captain, and they portray him as mysterious. Not much is known about his backstory till later in the movie. I would say maybe the beginning of the third act. The other main character is Private Ryan himself, played by Matt Damon, who is a young, energetic man who wants to fight the war, even after getting the news that his brothers have died. He still wants to stay and fight with his unit. But Captain Miller goes, "Nope, you're going home." And there is a bit of an argument that breaks out. The other cast members, like I said, not a cast-driven movie, but you got Edward Burns, Tom Sizemore, Jeremy Davis, Barry Pepper, Adam Goldberg, Giovanni Ribisi, Vin Diesel, Ted Danson, and Paul Giamatti, and many others. Long list. We'll be here all night, but like I said, story-driven film. But I will say, character-wise, the thing that I like is that they humanize everyone. It's not just blowing shit up, people getting on fire, people dying. It's not yay war. They humanize these soldiers. Like there's a scene when they're in the church staying the night, and a bunch of soldiers are talking about how they miss their moms and how their moms would wake them up at night to talk to them. And one soldier says, "I faked that I was asleep so my mom wouldn't talk to me." But then he regrets that he did that. He said, "Why didn't I just stay up and talk to my mom?" Because that is the tragedy of war. It's not just dying or getting shot at. It's missing your family, being away. We also get that from Captain Miller about how he wants to come home to his wife. Or about how Private James Ryan is talking about his brothers and the night they were all together before they shipped off to basic training. That is also the downside of war, is being away from your family. And that is a big emotional moment. And another big emotional moment is when they get the word about the three of the Ryan brothers who have died. The military department is like, yeah, their mom is getting all 3 telegrams today. And when they go talk to when they go talk to George Marshall, who's the chief of staff, real person, by the way, he goes, "Listen, we don't even know if James Ryan's still alive, so we might just declare him KIA, killed in action." And this scene, I think, is really powerful. When he pulls out, I have a letter that was written here to a Mrs. Bixby in Boston, so bear with me. And he's reading this letter that was written by Abraham Lincoln, to a woman named Mrs. Bixby who lost all 5 of her sons in the Civil War. And when he's done reading the letter, he goes, "That boy's alive, and we're going to get him the hell out of there." That just really, I think that letter is just the big framing device in this movie. Because at the end, when, spoiler, Private Ryan is found and brought home, Marshall does write that letter to Mrs. Ryan and quotes that letter from Lincoln. And also, okay, this movie has also been praised for its realism. And people have said this is the closest people could get to D-Day. And it is really realistic. That opening, like I said when we did our top 10 movie openings, I voted that as my number one. It's gritty. It is realistic. You feel like you're there. But on the downside of all this, a lot of veterans, when this movie came out, were actually triggered by this. The veterans' hotlines were literally blowing up. I was watching a clip from Joe Rogan, and he was interviewing a Navy SEAL, and the Navy SEAL said that his grandfather, who was a World War II veteran, when he saw this movie in theaters, he literally had to step outside. And I was reading through the YouTube comments. I can't give credit to this person because I don't know their name. But when this movie first came out in theaters, this person was telling the story about how a elderly couple were sitting in front of them when that opening D-Day scene was happening. He was actually sobbing. And when the movie was over, he went to go check on him to see if he was okay. He said, "Is everything okay?" He goes, "I was there." So if you are a veteran that deals with PTSD, I'm going to recommend, if you want to watch this movie, to please just tread with caution. Um, yeah, so this, again, really realistic. And a lot of people ask, is this movie based on a true story? Yes and no. The no part is there was no James Ryan, there were no Sean, Daniel, or Peter Ryan. The Ryan brothers were all made up, but it was actually based off of loosely based off the story of the Ryland brothers, who were 4 brothers who served in World War II, and 2 of them were killed in battle. James Ryan was actually based off of Frederick Ryland, who, like James, parachuted into Normandy the night before the invasion. And this was also based off of a real military policy called the sole survivor policy, which is when if a sibling is KIA, again, killed in action, they are to be returned home and leave battle immediately. That was actually the result of the death of the Sullivan brothers, who were 5 brothers who were killed in World War II, and they all served in the same unit, which eventually led to the the military policy of separating siblings into different units. And that is actually very briefly mentioned in the film. What else can I say about this movie? I could probably write you a whole doctoral thesis on it. Um, Another thing I can say is Steven Spielberg has range. Yeah, he can do the whimsical ones like Indiana Jones and E.T., but he can also do more serious ones. He can do this, he can do Jaws, he can do Schindler's List, he can do The Post. Spielberg has a range, and that is shown here in the grittiness and again the realism. And this is one of his best works, absolutely. And this movie was actually nominated for Best Picture. Steven Spielberg did win Best Director, but it lost to Shakespeare in Love in one of the most controversial Oscar upsets in history. But a bunch of people who were in the Academy have said, I think it was in 2015, that if they were to vote again, they would have voted for Private Ryan. And because there was some campaigning for Shakespeare in Love going on, which I'm not getting into, but but here's the thing: does a picture really need to win Best Picture to be considered great? Because once you think about it, more people are talking about this movie than they are Shakespeare in Love. And I think people remember this movie more. So maybe it didn't need to win Best Picture. Overall, like I said, I can go on and on about this movie. It is not just my favorite war movie, it is one of my favorite movies, period. I love this movie. I love the realism. I love the grittiness. I love the emotion. It is such a great film. So, for the first time ever here on Super Review Show, I am giving Saving Private Ryan a perfect 10 out of 10. Well, guys, hope you enjoyed this review. Have you seen Saving Private Ryan? Tell me your thoughts in the comments section. And from all of us here, have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. And to all the veterans out there, thank you for your service. And if you want to see more rock talk, more Why Should You Listen To, and of course, Mixed Bag. And of course, Mixed Bag on Wednesdays between 6 and 8. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Stay safe and take care.